Sorry. I'm going to have more thoughts out loud than I would normally.
That's what editing and post is for.
It's so true. Lauren, my producer, is like, goddamn. I'm Lizzie Nielsen. I spent my engineering career leading complex projects in healthcare and beyond, all while constantly learning and trying to stay human along the way. But there was a moment earlier in my career when someone told me I didn't have enough technical rigor. What does that even mean? And turns out I wasn't alone in that kind of experience. I've met so many women in STEM and other industries who've been made to feel the same way. Brilliant people with great instincts, deep skills, and real impact, still feeling like they're one misstep away from being seen as not enough. So I started this podcast to change that story. Welcome to Technical Rigor. Turns out, we've got plenty. I had the absolute pleasure of talking with Natalie Moylan today. She currently works as a senior mechanical engineer designing X-ray detectors. And honestly, we just had a ton of fun talking. She just makes me really hopeful for the future of engineering and having women like her in technical roles and people leadership roles. Hi, Natalie. Welcome to Technical Rigor.
Hi.
I am so excited to have you today. So, I know one of the things I love to ask guests before they come is the letters within STEM that they identify with. So, I wanted to ask you, when you think of science, technology, engineering, math, which letters do you identify with?
I would say my career is definitely science, technology, engineering.
Yes.
I am a full-time artist as soon as I clock out of my day job. So
Incredible.
I try to keep those two things separate, and then I have balance, and neither one is like burned out.
Yes. Okay. Let's even just start just highest level. What does life look like for you now, right now, both work and personally?
My life right now is super different than it was even just like a month ago. I had a lot of changes in 2025. I got married. I got a new job. My whole realm, I'm like kind of readjusting to like a little bit of a slower pace now that the transition to my new role is over and the wedding is over. And I'm kind of coming back into just like who I am as a person and figuring out my own routine. My job, fortunately, is a little looser on the start time, as long as I get my work done type of a thing. And then as soon as I'm off the clock, it's like gym. My husband and I do some cooking and we play smooth jazz in the kitchen and we just try to turn our work brains off and like pivot back over to that art brain that I talked about and give me a break before my brain has to go full Ferrari again the next morning.
Full Ferrari. That's such a great term. I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I've always been left brain, right brain too.
Yeah.
I loved all my math and science classes, but then I also loved art and music.
Yes.
And I followed my big brother and did music. And that was like my whole friend group and identity for so many years. And really in college, music was huge because it was a break from the rigor of engineering.
Yeah.
So it was nice to, exercise that right brain kind of after hours, after school, because my left brain was so exhausted.
Right.
So tell me about your new job. What is your role now?
My role now is a senior mechanical engineer designing computed tomography, so like CT machine detectors. So basically, when a patient needs a CT scan in the hospital, they are sitting in this tube and there is an X-ray. And instead of it just like taking one image, you have your leg broken or whatever, you just need the one X-ray. It's spinning around you while taking the X-ray, and it gives you full visuals of the internals of your body.
Incredible.
Yeah, designing that detector, it's a lot of G-forces and spaceship math, basically. It's super high precision machined parts, and we're working on the scale of like 1/10 of a micron, which is tiny, tiny, tiny portion of a hair, tiny.
Yeah, so much to consider on such a small scale.
Yeah, it's high precision, high tolerance stuff. It's a lot of attention to detail, but you can't get bogged down in the details because there's a lot to get done.
I know what you mean by not getting bogged down in the details, because there's times to do that and there are times not to do that. Or like it's like a stage in the process where You would never advance anything if you were trying to account for every single thing or solve literally every problem. That would definitely be the full definition of analysis paralysis.
Which is something that as I've gotten farther in my career, I've had to become more conscious about fighting. Like, I think when I was a really fresh green engineer right out of school, my version of approaching work looked a lot like how you would do homework in school, where you're like, I have to turn in the gold-plated version. It's perfectly cleaned up. All my pages are just like crisp and nice, and I've got technical justification for every step. And I've written all this stuff out. And as I have progressed, there's less time to make each step perfect.
I so relate to, especially earlier in your career, because for me, I know there's also an element of I have to prove myself.
Yeah.
Like I have to prove I actually know what I'm doing and I learned all these things. And, almost in school too, like, yes, we have group projects, which, are always a disaster. But so much of schooling, it's like you have to do it yourself, right? You're at home alone doing your homework. And so like it kind of all comes to you. And I know I spent the first probably 5 years of my career learning like, oh yeah, this is like a group activity. Like we are actually in this together. Like this isn't like the group project in college where Brad doesn't do his assignment and somebody never comes to class and has no idea what's happening.
Yes.
So did you ever feel part of that too earlier in your career, that some of that perfectionism or needing to have it perfect was because you were needing to prove yourself?
Oh my God, yeah. The quickest way to portray that is perfectionism. Also, I mean, I started my career in an extremely male-dominated industry, being engineering, and then my sector being power tools, which is all bro dudes. And I was the only woman on a team of 70 men straight out of school.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was carrying the reputation of every female engineer on my back. And if I wasn't perfect, then I was, feeding into a stereotype that I was trying to dismantle by even being in the room. So there was a lot more pressure in that regard. And fortunately, there were a lot of great men on that team that were allies to me, but there were also like people that weren't. And I had to learn how to just like be confident in both rooms.
Yeah, that can be such a hard line to walk, especially early on.
Yeah.
It's not a zero-sum game. You can have both. You just have to be smart about when you show both and who you show it to.
Yes.
How are you able to exude that confidence in the room where you have allies, and then talk about the experience of being in the room when it's people who are not quite your ally or don't have your back, or those like the toughest critics?
If I am around other people that I am kind of at the same level with, or I've already built a rapport with, I will show the very outgoing girly pop version of myself. But when I am in front of like more senior people, that is when I button it up and I don't show as much of my personality.
It's like knowing your audience for a presentation.
Yeah. So now there are scenarios where it could be somebody more senior that as I work with them longer and like build up more of a relationship with them, then I, talk a little bit more about my personality. But I'm very much like in my mind, not the engineer stereotype. You just have to be smart about when you show both and who you show it to. I learned some lessons. And then when I went to my next job, I was like, okay, I know a little bit better when to be myself and when to be like the most professional version of myself.
Because it's no matter what it is, those transitions, whether it is going to a new company or a new role, even within the same one, it's an opportunity to do the reflection of, okay, all of the things that I'm going to carry into the next role, things I'm going to leave behind, mindsets or beliefs or insecurities. I especially love the opportunity to drop some baggage and leave it at the baggage claim. I don't want to bring that with.
Yeah, we're not tripping over it.
Yes. A little bit out of order, but you mentioned how your parents are engineers. Did you always know that this was the path that you were going to take? Tell me how you decided to become engineer Natalie.
My dad's a chemical engineer. My mom's computer science and coding. My sister's an electrical engineer. I'm mechanical, obviously. And picking a career was a very front of mind, difficult thing for me. Because I am not a solely left brain or right brain person. When I was a little kid, we all are like, oh, I want to be a professional horseback rider. I want to be a princess. I always said I wanted to be an artist, but it's also not to say that I've never had an interest in STEM, because as a kid or a middle schooler, I watched Bones with my parents all the time. And I would, walk around and I was like, I'm going to be a forensic anthropologist. And then it became, I'm going to be a doctor. And then I'm going to be a rocket scientist. I went through all of these iterations, but I will say I'm a very risk averse person. And when we were little kids, right, we didn't come out of the womb and be like, I'm going to be an engineer. I always was so interested in art. And so I was like, I want to be an artist. And my sister was like, I want to be an English teacher. And my parents, being the very pragmatic engineers that they are, shit you not, when we were 7 years old, they sat us down. They pulled up the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they pulled the national average salaries for an artist and for an English teacher. And they sat us down and they said, girls, we love you so much. We will support you in whatever you do. However, it's cool to want these things, but you're going to go in eyes wide open if that is what you choose. And so that you know, the life that you currently live is based on the fact that mommy and daddy make X dollars of money a year.
Right.
Again, being risk averse, as I got older and I was going through high school and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I was like, well, engineering is the best return on investment for a 4-year degree for immediate earning potential. I changed my major a lot in college. I did not start in mechanical engineering, which is what I am now. I actually started in chemical engineering. When I was in high school, I loved playing with makeup. That was like art, but my canvas was somebody's face.
Absolutely.
I didn't feel super confident trying to make a career out of that, but I was like, how can I blend this with some kind of engineering degree? And then I was like, oh my gosh, I should go into cosmetics formulation.
Interesting. I love seeing the arc of like from the more artistic and like, how can I put this into a technical engineering career?
So yeah, I started in chemical engineering. I very quickly realized that cosmetics formulation is a teeny tiny niche of chemical engineering. Most chemical engineering is working in the oil and gas belt, working in refineries. So then I was thinking about the other things that interest me. Foray, again, face, skincare. I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to be a dermatologist. Okay. I can switch to biomed. I can get that degree, and then I can go to med school.
I love that deciding to go to med school is almost like that's your fallback plan.
It's my
like
fallback plan.
Chemical enginening, you're like, I guess I could go get my MD.
Yeah, I mean, the world is my oyster, okay?
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, though, because I was like, oh, getting my MD would be like step 2. But I quickly realized, like, oh, you have to really want it because you are putting the rest of your life on hold until you finish med school. So then I was like, maybe I'll switch to fashion design halfway through college. My parents were like, oh, wow, that's a pivot. So I basically had this like big mid-college crisis and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was like, well, mechanical engineering's got a lot of options. So I just panicked and was like, I'm going to do mechanical engineering and finish that out and figure out the rest later. So I was going for something with the most broad career opportunities and then letting myself grow into figuring out what I really wanted to do with that.
Was there a point where you were just like, maybe this whole engineering thing was a farce and I need to like just totally do something different technically?
I wouldn't say I ever quit it. This is why like love being so left brain, right brain, but it was so hard for me to pick something because I'm really good at a lot of very different things. And so picking which string to pull on and like keep going with was super difficult. I am not one of those people that does engineering because I love it.
Right.
I shut that part of my brain off as soon as I can. It's the mechanism that gives me the latitude and the financial resources to pursue the things that actually make me happy while not having to monetize them. Because if I had to monetize art and the other things I love, I think it would steal the joy from it. And so it's very protected, but it is at the cost of giving up, more than half of my time to doing this other thing. Fortunately, I work in healthcare and I make things that help people now, and there's purpose in that and all the great stuff. But
yeah,
engineering is very much the day job, and it's what makes the rest of my life work as well as it does.
As someone who struggled kind of wearing that woman in STEM badge and, at times where it felt shaken, like I wouldn't be that, like I actually think it's a really healthy mindset to have, no matter what job you have, of like, it is a job. There are parts of it that bring me joy. I love the challenge, but like at the end of the day, it's a job and there are so many other things that matter more than that. So healthy mindset, truly. On that thread, has there ever been a point in your career where you had a similar crisis like you did in school?
Yes, literally all the time. I'm not somebody that's ever going to be like obsessed with the job that I do because I do it for the things I do outside of work. But there is still value in enjoying your day to day. And there are definitely parts of being technical that I like. But just because I'm good at it, I don't think necessarily means it's right for me. I am someone who I have always prided myself in having really great soft skills and like being a very personable, nurturing human. Sometimes people in tech are like not that way. And
Right.
some of those experiences, right, have made me realize like, man, I think maybe I would make a really good people manager. But then if I'm going to do that, I'm going to be the manager that I want for myself, right? I'm going to be
Yeah.
that for other people. And so to me, what that looks like is getting all of the technical chops, doing the actual job, knowing what parts of it are really frustrating and hard, and knowing what parts of it are, yeah, maybe this is like pretty complicated, but it doesn't have to be, and we can make it better.
I love the positioning of like, I want to be the manager that I would want, because at least like that's a good framework to start. And then as you get into those roles, it's like you have to realize like, oh yeah, I have to manage every person as their own individual. I want to actually help them with their problems. And I want to be able to know the extent of what I'm asking for them to do.
Right.
So, okay, in those moments, you did feel like, okay, I think I need to change or I might leave. What helped you stay or what helped you get on a path toward more of what you wanted to be doing?
Never let myself make a decision out of panic. And for me, that looks like staying the course until things are better. Life is very much a staircase, right? You're looking at where you want to be and it's like 10 steps above you. That's like very daunting, but just doing it one step at a time, like you will get there eventually. And so I've tried to say yes to the cool opportunities that have come my way. And that's how I doubled my salary in like 4 years.
Absolutely.
And I will say on the being personable front, I think that there is a mental fallacy around you'll get the farthest in a tech career by being the techiest, smartest person in the room. And that has been absolutely the opposite of true for me. You can't bullshit your way through. You have to know what you're doing. You have to do a good job. But being personable and showing my personality to the right people has actually gotten me farther than my technical jobs ever have. You have to, do good in school and understand the material and get good grades and do good at your internships so that you can get a good job. But networking is so much of the game. And I don't mean networking in the maximize my LinkedIn profile and have the biggest presence and all of these things. I have never gotten a job from LinkedIn. Do you know what I have gotten jobs from? Other engineers that I met that were like, wow, this person's really cool and really down to earth and they're enjoyable to be around and they're enjoyable to work with. And they aren't going to melt my brain when I try to do a group project with them.
Yes.
My first promotion leading referral was actually from my sister who was working at another company. For them, it was kind of a slam dunk because they were like, well, two sisters probably have similar work ethics and they already had one that they enjoyed. So pretty easy bet that the other one would also have, a good head on her shoulders and good work ethic and all the things. So I got hired into that role. And then a connection actually of my sister's poised a promotion to me 5 months before my wedding, which was a crazy thing to do. I was already very overwhelmed, but I was like, I have to just try. I was very stressed out as it was. And I was like, I don't think I could be more stressed. So like, let's just see what happens. And it was a better fit in terms of the actual role for me. And I'm more exhilarated by it. And it was the best choice I could have made.
Right. It is overwhelming to plan a wedding and all of that. But you were able to just look at that one stair of the staircase and just be like, well, let's just see if I can take that one step.
I have really tried to stop telling myself no and let other people tell me no.
Oh.
I am my biggest critic and my biggest cheerleader. I had to start learning to turn the critic voice off when it's got no actual data driving it. if other people think I'm good enough, then I probably am.
Kind of STEM fields. There are just going to be the people who are gruff or people who just don't know how to adjust their approach. But on the other side of that, there really are the people who will talk to you like a person and will be more of an advocate and a help. And so while those people are the sharpest, they're not the only voice, or they're not the only personality or people there. And like, there are people like us in these realms, and we want to help be louder about like, we're here and we're staying and we've got you, and don't leave. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
This is probably like my best piece of career fair advice for women that do want to get into STEM. When you go to your interviews, what I always said, because I love to sew my own clothes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is flat laying patterns. And every garment that is sewn to fit the 3D shape of the human body, right, starts out flat. So it's kind of like the same thing as making like sheet metal forms in CAD, right?
It absolutely is. Yes.
It's the exact same thing. You have to have the spatial reasoning skills to take this like 2D shape and make it a 3D shape, and then like switch back and forth to know what needs to change.
Exactly.
I talked about flat laying fashion patterns and why building a garment is actually not that dissimilar from building a mechanical component. I talked about how I learned to do my own sewing machine maintenance and servicing, and how I would do teardowns on my sewing machine. And I didn't hide that part of myself whenever I was talking about what got me interested in engineering. And I can almost guarantee that was like not an answer that they'd heard somebody say before.
Absolutely.
And showing the fact that I had like a traditionally girly interest, but I could relay those same skills into something technical and show how I'm drawing parallels,
Yes.
gave me such a huge leg up. So
That's huge.
when you're going to a career fair, think about the things that you actually enjoy. Don't try to go with like some stock answer that you think they want to hear. What they want to hear is the real thing, because being a culture hire and a technical hire, if you can do both, you're golden.
Oh, I love that so much, because it's totally you, and it sets you apart. And it's also, again, it's not blowing smoke. Like, it is absolutely essentially a one-to-one of like how you would design a sheet metal part and doing that.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, everything is technical. And also a sewing machine, like the mechanisms within a sewing machine are still some of the most complex mechanisms.
Oh yeah, it's elegant.
I love that advice so much. That absolutely extends into when you're interviewing for jobs, and this still echoes so much of what you and I just talked about. You find ways to allow yourself to be you, right? I don't like the phrase bring your whole self to work, but it's like you're allowed to be who you are. I think that's such a takeaway for me from our conversation of you can be yourself. All right, final but easier question. Is there anything or anyone you want to plug? Is there someone you're following on social media these days, or like was there some aha like YouTube video you found at work that like helped you be like, "Oh, I was trying to understand this."
Yeah.
It can kind of be anything that you kind of want to plug and shout out.
Yes. So my favorite Instagram follow right now is this woman named Alexandra McNamara. Her handle is built.pretty. She works in the trades.
Oh.
She always has long acrylic nails or whatever. It actually she's like, it actually protects my fingers like more than anything.
I love it. Yes.
She teaches tool literacy.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, this is what an impact driver does, or this is when you use like a wood screw versus another type of screw versus a bolt or whatever. But she takes it, she flips it into language that I would say is more easily digestible by like,
oh my gosh.
There are certain things, it's like, I feel like when you're a girl in engineering, so you're like, oh, I want to ask this question, but is it a dumb question?
Yeah.
And she just breaks down all of the differences between when to use what tool and when to use what component and makes it like very digestible language. And it's so cool seeing somebody be so confident in their femininity.
I'm so excited.
She's probably the best one on her crew too, because she can talk to people And she knows what she's doing. And she knows it well enough to explain it in easy terms, which is really the mark of a genius, in my opinion.
Honestly, like, to know something is one thing, but to be able to teach it is a whole other thing. And I mean, any mentor, but especially engineering mentors, are the ones who, just level with me and just explain it in the most simplest terms.
Yeah.
Bring it down to earth for me, please. Oh, love it. Okay. Again, Natalie, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Technical Rigor. Follow us at Technical Rigor, and if you have any comments, suggestions, or people we should interview, please email us at technicalrigor@gmail.com. If you liked what you heard, please like, rate, review, and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast.
I'm not a rocket scientist, but kinda.
I mean, basically, you're doing spaceship math, so.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. I'm like really struggling right now. Can I start this one over?
Yes.
I'm not media trained. I am not media trained.
This has been a 2Max production.